You call this living, Nora? Tess shouted over the thumping bass as she dragged her through the pulsing crowd. I call this suffering. Nora yelled back, gripping her purse like a lifeline. Her laugh, nervous but real, vanished under flashing lights. Exactly. You need to suffer a little less. Tess spun, hair flying. You've worked yourself into a saint. One drink. That's all I'm asking. The air smelled of citrus and sweat. Nora hesitated, but Tess was relentless. Before she knew it, a glass was in her hand, amber liquid glowing beneath neon lights. She took a sip, winced, then another. See? Not so bad. Tess grinned, clinking their glasses. Nora's stomach fluttered, half nerves, half excitement. Maybe tonight she could forget that she was the orphan girl turned law student barely holding her life together. Maybe, for once, she could just breathe. Her gaze caught on a man across the room. Broad shoulders, sharp suit, a smile that didn't belong in a place like this. He looked out of place, almost lonely despite the crowd around him. When their eyes met, he didn't look away. Tess nudged her. He's totally checking you out. Don't be ridiculous. Ridiculous is your middle name. Go say hi. I'm not. But the man was already walking toward her, calm and confident, like he'd made up his mind long before she had. Is this seat taken? He asked, gesturing toward the stool beside her. Do I look like I own it? She shot back, more defensive than she meant. He chuckled. No, but you look like you might bite anyone who tried. I've had a long week. Then maybe I can help make it shorter. He extended his hand. Ethan. She eyed it warily, then took it. Nora. That handshake lasted longer than it should have. The music faded in her head. For a moment, it was just the steady eyes and that quiet, knowing smile. They talked about everything and nothing, classes, stress, dreams that felt too far away. He told her he'd just come back from London, that his father ran some big company. She didn't catch the name, didn't care. What mattered was how he looked at her, like she was the only person in the room. By the time the lights dimmed and the DJ switched to slow songs, she didn't even remember how many drinks she'd had. She just remembered laughing, really laughing. Then a car, a blurred ride, the sound of rain on glass, and a voice whispering, "You okay?" When Nora woke up, sunlight stabbed through pale curtains. Her head pounded. She sat up fast, too fast. A sheet slipped down her shoulder. Her heart froze. This wasn't her dorm. And the man sleeping beside her, Ethan, was very, very real. Oh my God! She scrambled for her clothes, trembling hands fumbling with buttons and straps. Ethan stirred. Nora? Hey, wait! I have to go. Her voice cracked. This shouldn't have happened. Slow down. But she was gone before he could finish. 6 years later. The morning sun hit Nora's tiny kitchen, bouncing off the cluttered counter stacked with files, toy cars, and coffee mugs. Mommy, Liam stole my pancake. I did not. Leo's lying. Both of you hush. Nora groaned, balancing her laptop on one knee while flipping another pancake. If you keep yelling, no one gets syrup. Instant silence. She smiled. Victory. Her phone buzzed. Tess, as always. Still alive? Tess teased when Nora picked up. Barely. 2 clients, 0 sleep, twin chaos. You're a superhero. I'm a broke superhero with sticky hands and no cape. Tess laughed. I'm coming by later with groceries. And coffee that doesn't taste like burnt rubber. You're my angel. Obviously. Nora hung up and exhaled. Her eyes lingered on a framed photo on the fridge. 2 boys with messy brown curls in her eyes. Her heart softened. No regrets. Not anymore. But sometimes, late at night, she still wondered if he ever thought of her. It happened on a Tuesday. The twins were at a park picnic with Tess when Leo's face suddenly went pale. Mommy, my throat hurts. Nora's smile vanished. What did you eat? Cake. It had strawberries. Her blood ran cold. No, baby, you're allergic. Everything blurred after that. Sirens crying, her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. At the hospital, doctors rushed Leo inside. Nora clutched Liam, shaking, whispering prayers she'd forgotten she knew. "Miss Hale?" A deep, composed voice broke through the chaos. She turned. A tall man in an expensive suit stood there, gray hair, familiar blue eyes. He looked startled, too, as if seeing a ghost. "I'm Richard Cole," he said. "My company sponsors this hospital. I couldn't help but overhear your son's name. Leo Hale." He hesitated. "He looks remarkably like someone I know." Nora frowned. "Excuse me." "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "That was inappropriate. May I help? Cover expenses, perhaps?" "No, thank you." Her voice was sharp. He studied her face a second longer before nodding and walking away. But as he left, the doubt already rooted in his mind. A week later, Richard sat in his study, a photo of Nora and her twins on his desk, snapped discreetly by a hospital volunteer. His gut told him what his heart already knew. He ordered a quiet DNA test, pulling a few strings only a man of his power could pull. When the results arrived, he stared at them for a long time before exhaling shakily. They were Ethan's. He closed the folder, picked up his phone, and said, "Find Nora Hale." Across town, Nora opened her door to find a sleek car parked outside and a driver in a suit handing her a letter. It was handwritten, neat and formal. "Ms. Hale, please allow me the courtesy of a conversation. It concerns your sons. Richard Cole." Her fingers trembled. The name hit her chest like a weight. Cole. She remembered Ethan saying it that night. Ethan Cole. Her knees felt weak. If you're still watching this, make sure to hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Do you think Nora should meet Richard or protect her sons from the truth? Nora's hands shook as she held the letter. Richard Cole. The name echoed through her mind like a memory she'd spent 6 years trying to bury. She sank onto the couch, clutching the paper to her chest. The twins were at school. The apartment was silent, except for the faint hum of the fridge. "He found me." Her first instinct was to run, pack a bag, disappear again. But where would she go this time? She had a career, clients, 2 boys in school. She couldn't just vanish. And what if this wasn't about her? What if something had happened to Ethan? She closed her eyes. For years, she'd told herself she didn't care. That night had been a mistake, nothing more. But when she looked at Leo and Liam, she saw him, his eyes, his crooked grin. Now the past was knocking on her door. 3 hours later, she sat in the lobby of Cole Industries, glass, steel, and money polished into perfection. Her reflection in the mirrored wall looked out of place. Simple blouse, nervous eyes, knuckles white around her purse strap. A woman in a sleek navy suit approached. "Ms. Hale, Mr. Cole will see you now." Nora followed her through silent hallways until they stopped in front of a heavy oak door. The woman knocked lightly. "Come in," said a deep voice from inside. Nora stepped in and froze. Richard Cole stood behind a massive desk, gray hair perfectly combed, posture straight. But it was a photo on the shelf behind him that made her knees weaken. Ethan, smiling in a tuxedo beside a woman she didn't know. "Ms. Hale," Richard said gently, motioning to the seat across from him. "Thank you for coming." Nora sat stiffly. "You said this was about my sons." He nodded. "It is. I'll be direct. I believe they're my grandsons." Her breath caught. "What?" "I understand how that sounds," he continued calmly. "But I had a test run without your consent, and for that, I apologize. The results confirmed what I suspected." Nora's pulse hammered in her ears. What gives you the right?" "Because I saw Ethan in them the moment I laid eyes on them," Richard said quietly. "And I need to know why you never told him." Her throat tightened. "Because he didn't want me." Richard's expression softened, just slightly. "You think Ethan wouldn't have?" "I'm not here for pity," she snapped. "That night was a mistake. We barely knew each other. I wasn't going to chase a man who probably didn't even remember my name." Richard sighed, then pressed a button on his desk. "Then perhaps you should tell him that yourself." The door opened. Nora turned. Ethan stood there. For a heartbeat, neither moved. The air thickened with shock and memory. He looked older, sharper jawline, colder eyes, but still impossibly familiar. "Nora," he breathed. As if saying her name made it real, she stood slowly, every instinct screaming to run, but her legs refused. "What is this?" Ethan asked, eyes darting between her and his father. "You said it was a business meeting." "It is," Richard said quietly. "Family business." Ethan frowned, stepping closer. "What's going on?" Richard handed him the folder. "You'll understand." Ethan flipped it open, confusion shifting to disbelief, then to something rawer. "No," he looked up, voice hoarse. "No, this can't be." Nora's lips trembled. "Ethan." He turned to her, eyes blazing. "You had my children and never told me." The accusation sliced through her like a blade. "I didn't plan any of this. You disappeared. You left me. I woke up alone." They both froze, breathing hard, staring at each other across the room. Richard quietly stepped out, closing the door behind him. The silence that followed was thick, trembling. Ethan finally spoke, his voice low. "You could have called." "And said what?" "Hi, remember me, the girl you slept with once." She shook her head, tears stinging. "I thought you moved on." "I looked for you," he said quietly, "for months. Then I found out you'd left school. I figured you didn't want to be found." Her voice broke. "I didn't even know your last name, Ethan. You never told me." He blinked, guilt washing over his face. "I didn't know you were pregnant," he whispered. "Would it have mattered?" His jaw clenched. "You think I wouldn't have claimed them?" "I think you would have claimed them like property," she snapped. "And I wasn't going to let my boys be raised as charity." He looked at her, really looked, and something inside him cracked. "They're mine, Nora." "They're ours," she corrected fiercely. A long silence hung between them, full of things they didn't say. Finally, Ethan exhaled and ran a hand through his hair. "Let me see them." Nora hesitated. "They don't know you." "Then let me change that." Later that evening, Ethan stood in Nora's small living room, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up. He knelt on the floor as Leo and Liam eyed him curiously. "So," Liam said, crossing his arms, "you're rich?" Ethan chuckled. "That's what people say." "Do rich people eat pancakes for dinner?" Leo asked. "Only the smart ones." The boys laughed, and something inside Nora melted. For the first time, Ethan didn't look like the man who broke her heart. He looked like a father. When the boys finally went to bed, she found him standing by the window, hands in his pockets, watching the city lights. "They're incredible," he said softly. "You did that. Alone." She swallowed hard. "I did what I had to." He turned to her, eyes full of something she couldn't name. "You don't have to anymore." "Ethan, I'm not asking to fix the past, just to be here now." Her walls trembled, but she couldn't let them fall. "Not yet. You don't get to walk in and rewrite everything." "I don't want to rewrite it," he said quietly. "I just want to be part of it." She stared at him for a long moment before whispering, "It's not that simple." He stepped closer, voice low. "It never was." The following week felt like walking on glass for Nora. Ethan showed up every day, sometimes with takeout, sometimes just to walk the boys home from school. He didn't push too hard, didn't demand explanations, didn't raise his voice again. He was just there, and that, somehow, made everything harder. She'd spent years learning to live without him, and now his presence filled every quiet space. His laugh in the kitchen, his cologne lingering after he left, the sound of the boys giggling when he taught them how to make paper airplanes. One evening, she found him sitting on the porch steps, watching the sunset. The twins were inside, arguing over cartoons. "You're early," she said softly. He smiled without looking up. "I wanted to see them before bedtime. And you." Nora hesitated, arms folded. "You're making it hard to stay mad at you." Ethan finally turned to her, eyes gentle but steady. "Then stop trying so hard." She laughed despite herself, sitting beside him. The sky burned orange and gold over the rooftops. He looked at her for a long moment. "Do you ever think about that night?" Her heart skipped. "You mean the one that ruined everything?" "The one that started everything." She didn't respond. She couldn't. The silence between them pulsed with old pain and new confusion. I wasn't ready back then, he admitted. I was reckless, too proud, too stupid to realize what I had. And now I'm terrified of losing it again. Her breath caught. Ethan. He reached out, brushing his thumb over her knuckles. You don't have to forgive me tonight. Or tomorrow. But let me prove I can be the man you and the boys deserve. Nora looked down at his hand, then up at him. The vulnerability in his eyes wasn't the arrogance she remembered. It was something softer, humbler. Do you really think we can just pick up where we left off? He shook his head. No, I think we start over. The front door creaked open, and Leo poked his head out. Mom, Liam stole my blanket. Ethan chuckled, standing. Crisis mode. Let's handle it, partner. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone in the chaos. Weeks passed. The routine became familiar. Ethan dropping by, helping with homework, cooking dinner on Fridays. He never stayed the night, never crossed lines. But every look, every smile, carried the weight of things unsaid. One rainy Saturday, the boys were at a sleepover. Nora stood in the kitchen, folding laundry, when the doorbell rang. Ethan stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee and that familiar half-smile. I figured you could use some company. She exhaled softly, stepping aside. You always did bad timing. He grinned. And you always open the door anyway. They sat on the couch, coffee steaming between them, the sound of rain tapping the windows. I forgot how peaceful it can be when they're not around, Nora said. Peaceful, he repeated. Or lonely. She shot him a look. You're getting good at the therapist act. I've had 6 years to rehearse my regret. That shut her up. After a moment, she whispered, You really did look for me? Everywhere, he said quietly. But by the time I found a trace, you were gone. And when I finally stopped searching, I thought maybe it was what you wanted. Her eyes softened. I wanted to survive. That's all. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her heart nearly stopped. Ethan. He opened it, not to reveal a ring, but 2 tiny silver pendants shaped like stars. For Leo and Liam, he said, so they never forget that even when things fall apart, there's always something shining left to find. Tears welled in her eyes. That's beautiful. They deserve to know where they come from, he said. And so do you. She took a deep breath, her fingers trembling as she closed the box. You really mean to stay? For good, he said. If you'll let me. For a long moment, all she could hear was the rain. The steady rhythm matched her heartbeat, fast, uneven, hopeful. You hurt me, she said finally. I know. You broke me. I'll spend the rest of my life fixing that. Her lip trembled. You can't fix the past. No, he said softly, but I can build a future. Then he leaned forward, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. When his lips met hers, it wasn't desperate or wild. It was gentle, real, years of what-ifs, and almost melting into something simple and true. When they broke apart, she laughed through tears. You still taste like bad coffee, and you still make it worth drinking. She smacked his arm lightly, then rested her head against his shoulder. Outside, the rain eased. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was running anymore. Weeks later, Nora stood in the audience as Leo and Liam performed in their school play. She caught Ethan's gaze across the crowd. He winked, holding up his phone to record the boys as they waved dramatically. When the curtain fell, Leo ran straight to him. Did you see me, Dad? Ethan laughed, sweeping him into his arms. You were amazing. Liam tugged Nora's hand. Mom, did you cry again? She smiled, brushing a tear away. Maybe just a little. As they walked out together, Ethan slipped his hand into hers. It felt natural, like it had always been meant to fit there. They reached the parking lot, and the night air was cool, soft, alive. Nora looked up at the stars. The night we met, she said quietly, I never thought I'd see you again. He squeezed her hand. Then maybe that's why it's called fate. She smiled. No, it's called choosing again. He leaned down, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Then I choose you, every night that changes us. The boys giggled ahead of them, chasing each other to the car. Ethan and Nora followed, laughter mingling with the sound of crickets and city lights. The past had broken them. But love, this messy, imperfect, patient kind, had found a way to stitch them back together. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit like, drop a comment about your favorite moment, and subscribe for more stories that remind you love can always find its way home. What would you do if someone from your past showed up with the truth you've been hiding from? Tell us below.